Advanced Residential Applications and Case Studies. Chapter 3, The Valuation Process. Page 9, Financially Feasible. After the uses that did not meet the legally permissible and physically possible tests have been eliminated, all the remaining uses that are expected to produce a positive return are regarded as financially feasible. This test requires you to analyze the market to determine if sufficient demand is present to create new improvements or to modify existing improvements to create the ideal improvements given current market conditions. Analysis of supply and demand and of location are needed to identify those uses that are financially feasible and which one of those will provide the highest return. With a vacant residential lot, the analysis will often focus on what size and quality home will produce the greatest return. In areas with high land costs, developers will typically build larger homes that still conform to the neighborhood, but maximize the return on investment. When existing improvements are present, the question is, do they conform to the market as is? The appraiser may need to investigate to determine if repairs or renovations would bring a higher return. If the existing improvements consist of an average quality, 60-year-old, 2-bedroom, 1-bath home in an area of much larger and newer homes, it would not be unusual for buyers to demolish the home and replace it with a larger one of better quality that conforms to current market demands. If the older home was purchased recently, adding demolition costs to the purchase price provides an indication of land value. End of page. Page 10. Maximally productive. Lastly, having narrowed down the potential uses by considering those that are legally permissible, physically possible, and financially feasible, you may be left with more than one potential highest and best use. If that is the case, then the highest and best use will be that use that produces the highest residual land value. In addition to use, highest and best use analysis requires an appraiser to consider the timing. For instance, when the use is expected to take place, and the market participants, for instance, who is expected buyer/user. In applying this final test, you should take care to ensure the use selected makes sense in the current market. When there is no demand for homes, for example, the highest and best use may be to hold the land as vacant. That's called an interim use. Until the market changes and demand increases sufficiently to justify construction. Review your earlier course material on highest and best use analysis. Be very careful to recognize those assignments where the highest and best use analysis is especially challenging, as it often will be with complex properties. If you do not get the highest and best use analysis right, your market value appraisal opinions and conclusions will not be credible. End of page. Chapter 3, page 11, check your understanding quiz. This quiz has a total of 3 questions. There will be 1 question per page. You must achieve 65% to pass this quiz. Start quiz. Number 1, an appraiser states that converting an old single-family home into a duplex is financially feasible. What does this mean? A, the current use is not profitable. B, there is no demand for rental units in the subject's market. C, the conversion is expected to produce a positive return. Or D, the cost of converting the home to a duplex is more than the expected increase in value. I'm going to go C, the conversion is expected to produce a positive return. Number 2, the highest and best use analysis. Legal permissibility considerations might include A, historic district controls. B, environmental regulations. C, building codes. Or D, all of these. I'm going to go D, all of these. And lastly, number 3. In a residential subdivision, deed restrictions in place may make the appraiser's highest and best use analysis A, impossible, B, unrealistic, C, mandatory, or D, easier. I think it's between mandatory and easier. It's kind of like they're both right. I'm going to go easier. I'm not 100%, but I think if it's not that, it's probably mandatory. Assessment completed. Finish. You passed. You got 100%. Good job. So remember, number 1, an appraiser states that converting an old single-family home into a duplex is financially feasible. What does this mean? You said the conversion is expected to produce a positive return, and that was correct. Number 2, in highest and best use analysis, legal permissibility considerations might include, you said all of these in regards to historic district controls, environmental regulations, and building codes. And that was correct. And lastly, number 3, in a residential subdivision, deed restrictions in place may make the appraiser's highest and best use analysis, you said, easier. And that was correct.